Hello! Kpop is here. As the title suggests, today's topic is the importance of debuts in K-pop. It's a universal experience, meaning every artist, whether they will fade into the shadow of forgotten idols or will completely change the K-pop scene, whether their career will end before it even began or will endure the test of time. One thing is for sure though, is that they have to go through it to actually start. At first glance, it may not sound that significant, since we know several artists like BTS or Soyeon, whom debut was not that well received for various reasons. Then, after several years of hard work, both broke out of their cages with the lucky track, and now we know how huge both groups have become. So to think that first releases actually don't matter that much is a logical thought. But I believe it is a giant misconception. It is the exact opposite. If it is done right, it can bring numerous people together just to help the artist to begin their somewhat long journey to stardom. It also has a lot of purposes. But to sum it up, let's just simply say that its goal is to reflect what the idols have to tell to its listeners and to make the people who come across them fall in love with the artist. Through my years of examining and understanding K-pop, I can confidently say that a perfect debut needs to be catchy, distinct, and introducing. But to fully comprehend what it truly is, please let me explain it to you in the next minutes. Shall we start? There are millions of songs coming out each year with diverse sounds and concepts from various countries. But only a handful of them can actually become known to the public. And what all those fortunate debuts which could taste the flavor of success share in common is catchiness. No matter if we are talking about the Jackson 5's Mountain debut with the pop and soul influenced hit track I Want You Back, or IZ*ONE's infamous, elegant and sophisticated electro-pop track Lavian Rose. Both debuts are radically different in decades, sound and concept, but both became popular for a reason. And by this, I don't mean all first acts should be extremely well known like Britney Spears, but for it to be at least moderately successful, catchiness is crucial. But what does catchy or catchiness mean in the first place? Catchy is a combination of cautiously crafted rhythm, melody, and lyrics which connect to us on a deeper level. For a debut track to be catchy, there are several key elements it should contain, like a good hook, simplicity, repetition, and relatability. An enjoyable hook represents a memorable lyrical element that grabs the audience's attention and is the most memorable part of the song. Like the chorus of News to Space, and what makes it so recognizable is the lines where the vocals are duplicated. Simple songs with melody, rhythm, and sound that are easy to comprehend can be the most effective, aka more likely to stick in our minds. Like the instrumental of Wonder Girls' Irony, which basically uses the same beats throughout the entire song. When we hear repeated rhythms or lyrics, our brains recognize it and predict it to show up later in the song. If the repeated element is just to our liking, we actually want it to return later. Like CM Blue's debut, Loner, the chorus' most important part is the repeated Vechoria paired with one simple line. In K-pop, especially with foreign stans, the relatable lyrics can be left behind since most of us don't understand Korean and usually listen to the tunes without actually knowing what it is trying to tell us. By no means I think it is fine, but it is reality. To find the perfect example for my fellow K-pop lyric lovers, FT Island's Lovesick is a good choice.
너무나 많이 사랑한 죄널 너무나 많이 사랑
K-pop is a battlefield between hundreds, if not more, artists, and all of them are ruthlessly fighting for the spotlight, which a very few of them can actually consider it to be theirs. Both in the West and in K-pop, the competition is big enough to make its strongest soldiers work their asses off for their positions. While Western pop is competitive, K-pop is like a high school version of it, much more fierce, tough, and cool. Nowadays, K-pop is recognized for its sudden popularity outside of Asia because of big names like Blackpink or BTS, but it is still not globally accepted like the Western pop is. With a smaller community and place to work with, it obviously can't handle all these hundreds of artists debuting each year. Just last year, around 160 to 190 artists debuted with only a few days apart. So, to actually make a noise, you have to be distinct in a way. What the Cambridge Dictionary believes distinct means is, I quote, clearly noticeable. We, as humans, usually notice things that are different, things that look out of place, whether if it is for a good or a bad reason. And K-pop heavily utilizes this trait of ours. The most well-done debut can flop if it follows the same trends that have been done repeatedly. For K-pop fans, it doesn't offer anything refreshing, so we easily overlook them. Our attention span is as long as the snap of a finger. So to get our awareness at first release, it needs to offer an out-of-box track that catches our attention because of its weirdness or uniqueness. In 2019, JYP found luck with his brand new girl group ITZY and their debut track Dala Dala. These refreshing girls offered and popularized a new type of concept called teen crush. It still contains the feminist undertones of girl crush, but focuses more on the relatable lyrics by brightening the darker and more powerful concept. Its audience are teenagers, so it talks about topics that seem to interest the younger listeners. Dala Dala carries a message of self-love and empowerment. The lyrics convey the idea that it's okay to be different and to love yourself for who you are, regardless of the societal standards. It quickly clicked with the public, and ITZY soon became the leading act of the fourth generation. So as a K-pop company, it is like playing Russian roulette, because you don't know if your new artist's odd concept will succeed or will never be acknowledged. It is a dangerous game that unfortunately has been working for ages in this industry. And those who cannot impress the listeners will only watch the battle for the spotlight from the benches on the side. As I have previously mentioned, almost 200 of artists debut each year, and a handful of them are groups, meaning 4 to 8 or even 11 times more humans dedicate their life to be an idol per year. Among these candidates to become the star of South Korea, only those who the public has an idea about will be recognized as nominees. To put it simply, why would anyone bet an eye on them if the audience doesn't know who they are? The primary goal is to be accepted by the public and, more importantly, K-pop's hometown, South Korea. Whether we like it or not, South Korea has a much larger influence on our faves than it may seem to be. Even if a group is doing moderately good outside of South Korea or Asia for that matter, but poorly domestically can cause some damages to the artist in the long run. Not exactly in their active years, since it doesn't really matter where the fans are buying their albums or streaming their songs. But once they disband, and I assume they are South Koreans, they will most likely fade into the background because they are not faces whom the Korean public is familiar with. Therefore, they won't get CFs, variety show appearances, going solo will be harder, and acting won't be as easy. So, to make South Korea love you is highly recommended as a rookie. Obviously, a debut track cannot make the idol the next sensation overnight, but it pushes them forward to the path to become one. So what the first release does is to introduce the artist, and if it's a group, then also the members to the audience. By showing off the artist, I don't mean their personalities, but their strengths or skills in the industry. If we objectively look at idols, the key skills they should have are singing, dancing, rapping, songwriting, and stage presence. Now, obviously, not every idol has these expertise, but it is nice if an idol has at least 3 or 4 out of the listed skills. While the member or members are a defining aspect of an artist or a group, there is another element that can be as or even more important than the idols. People have a lot of different preferences in food, colors, film, and what is important to us now is in music. To be more specific, the music genre is what we are picky about. And what a debut can show is what type of genre will the artist follow. But since K-pop itself is a genre of music, what we will have to see is what they will pair it with. Maybe they will come out with a more rock-influenced track. Or perhaps with a vibrant Europop-styled one. But what the companies have to be careful about is to choose a genre that the South Koreans like. Dance/electronic pop, which is what K-pop artists tend to do the most, and it usually works all the time. If I'm correct, Soloist's Shawn's first not remix or radio mix track was Way Back Home, which made him the most streamed male soloist in South Korea between 2018 and 2020.
다시 way back home.
OSTs has always been the leading music type, considering how much South Koreans of all ages love dramas and films from their country. Punch's OST debut was Sleepless Nights from the popular drama It's Okay, That's Love, which became one of the most adored songs of that year within the South Korean community. R&B and soul really took off in the late 90s. While it is not the biggest thing nowadays, we see artists here and there coming back with songs like these. Although it is a remake, Red Velvet's debut for their Velvet side, Be Natural, is a masterpiece. Adult contemporary, also known as ballad, which is surprisingly still favored even today in South Korea. TVXQ's Hug was described as a sleeper hit, which by the end of the year became the most popular first track. Hip-hop, which is basically the genre that birthed K-pop and one-time self-named first act, was nothing short of amazing that caught the eyes of the locals. And finally Trot, which is literally the heart of Korean music for 100 years now, and especially older listeners lean towards songs like Rakugo, which was made by the popular group Super Junior's subunit Super Junior T or Super Junior Trot. To sum it up, a perfect debut can certainly happen in this industry, and while we don't always look deeply into it, I think sometimes it is worth the time to appreciate and adore the art that our artists release. And when we get into K-pop artists, their debuts are not the tracks we look most forward to or want to re-listen. But I think to understand the present, we first need to look in the past.